again, the best example is COVID-19. Think about it. You see two patients, very similar clinically. One is getting the disease very mildly, and the other one is dying. What is the difference between those two patients? We see nothing in the blood test. We see nothing in the imaging. Okay, the difference between these two patients is probably the way the body is responding to the disease, to the infection. It's a very complex interplay. It's very complex to decipher, but it's there and we should go there.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley, in partnership with Lomitech, and sponsored by Homeward Ventures, Hippo Insurance, Upwest, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, and Birthright Excel. Welcome to another episode of 20-Minute Leaders. Today I'm with Dr. Ofer Sharon, the CEO of OncoHost. Dr. Ofer Sharon is a physician and entrepreneur with more than 20 years of experience in clinical research, pharmaceuticals, and biotechnology, and has made vital contributions to the acceleration of personalized medicine and oncology drug development. A former Merck executive, Ofer is the current CEO of OncoHost, a global leader in host response profiling for improved personalized cancer therapy. Dr. Ofer Sharon, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. How are you today?
I'm good, and thanks for having me here, Michael.
Thank you very, very much for being here. I'll always, take every opportunity to speak with an entrepreneur that is working on something that is literally saving and improving people's lives. I can't think of many things more meaningful than working on cancer therapy and cancer as a problem as a whole. And I can only imagine, the impact that you have on the people that are coming to interaction with OncoHost, the company that you're the CEO of. So I'm excited to hear both your journey, but also take a step back and understand the world of cancer a little bit better, and specifically from the angle of cancer therapy and how you view it. So Dr. Sharon, maybe take me back a little bit, briefly throughout your career, through the different experiences, what led to you wanting to start a company in the cancer therapy space?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So, I spent the last 20 years in the industry in different roles. I would say about 2/3 of the time as an entrepreneur, and then the rest working with 4 pharma companies. Mm-hmm. And when I started my journey, I was touching different things. I mean, there was always a common thing. It was always a combination of mathematics, machine learning, we used to call it in the past, big data, with medicine, but I actually didn't touch on oncology until I was working for Merck, for MSD. I was the head of medical affairs here in Israel, and I was doing some global work dealing with one of the biggest promises of oncology in the last, I would say, 10 to 15 years, and that is immunotherapy, and specifically for Merck Keytruda. And we used to say that, a drug like Keytruda or the competitors of Keytruda, immunotherapy as a class is something that you meet once in a lifetime, really. And when we began the journey, we were amazed by the initial results, and we really thought that we found a silver bullet. Now, incidentally, while I was working on the clinical trials of Keytruda, my father-in-law got sick with stage 4 melanoma. And back then, being diagnosed with a stage 4 melanoma meant usually that the patient will die within 4, 5, 6 months. Wow. Deadly disease, not a lot you can do. Some people in Israel, actually in Tel HaShomer, did some amazing things. Professor Schefter, Gal Merkel, Ronnie Shapira, but still, deadly disease without a lot of hope. And we were struggling very hard to try and bring my father-in-law or keep him alive until we launched Keytruda to the market. And we missed in about three months. He passed away, unfortunately, 3 months before we had access to Keytruda. And for me, that was a life-changing event, because of many reasons. But one of those reasons was the understanding that when we are dealing with cancer, when we are dealing with cancer patients, first of all, we don't have a lot of time, right? Time is really important here. And second, a lot of what we do in cancer, even today, is based on trial and error. And that just drove me crazy. I mean, it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense to me that we are treating a 78-year-old man and a 45-year-old woman the same way. These are not the same patients, yet yeah, yes, we're using the same protocols. And indeed, the success rates are not that amazing. So when I met Yuval Shaked, Professor Yuval Shaked, and he was telling me about what he's doing, for me, it was like an eye opener. And I said, okay, this is where I want to be now, and this is what I want to do.
Incredible. Tell me a little bit about what that is.
So OncoHost is dealing with precision medicine. Now, when you say precision medicine, and I get it a lot to people, they say, oh, of course, precision medicine, like 500 companies out there doing precision medicine. But really, this is not the case. You know, precision medicine is something that is very, 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 very early on in development. Companies that or scientists that started mapping the DNA found what we call today the driver mutations that are actually driving cancer growth and spread. We don't have a lot of those, unfortunately. You can find like something like 6 to 10, depending on how you look at those in lung cancer. Uh, Again, in the very low numbers, below 10 in other cancer indications. So precision medicine, as such, is a very early stage, and it's very similar to the way we did prenatal screening 20 years ago. You know, there are 5,000 potential genetic diseases. You know about 5 mutations, and you test for those. Similar to what we have in oncology today. And this is just, you know, the tip of the iceberg. Because cancer is a very complex biological system, very complex biological disease, and the interaction between the patient, the tumor, and the therapy is something that plays a key role in resistance mechanisms, key role in how our patient is going to respond to therapy, and what is the prognosis for the patient. And what I liked about OncoHost and about the science behind it, it's exactly the holistic approach. The ability to look both very, very much downstream, namely look at proteins, not at the DNA level, not even at the RNA level. We are examining proteins. Second, we are not looking at a single axis or a bidimensional interaction between therapy and tumor. We are looking at a very complex interaction between the human body, the cancer, which is a hybrid entity, you know. On one side, it is part of the body. On the other side, it is foreign to the body. And then the therapy. And that complexity and that holistic approach is what drew me to the concept from the get-go.
So what kind of theme is this? You know, if we were to extrapolate on this in the medicine world, what kind of theme does this act on? So what is this? You know, what is sort of the parallel of this in other examples, or how is this an example of where we're going to be heading with medicine? You know, in the coming years, you're dealing specifically with cancer therapy. But is this applicable to a greater trend that we might see in medicine in general?
I think it is. I think that precision medicine as such is going to be the next wave in medicine, because we understand today that, you know, the disease that we see, and I think that COVID-19, by the way, is a great example of that. The disease we see, the illness that we see, is not the interaction between one cause and one effect. It's a complex interplay of biological processes. Our body is responding to the disease. Our body is responding to therapy. If we will know how to map this interaction, if we will know how to look at this from different angles, not only from the cause and effect, but look at the entire story, I think we'll be able to learn much more about the disease processes, not only in oncology. Oncology, of course, is a huge unmet need, but I think that also in autoimmune diseases and inflammatory processes that the body is undergoing. And I think that, again, the best example is COVID-19. Think about it. You know, you see 2 patients, very similar clinically. One is getting the disease very mildly, and the other one is dying. What is the difference between those 2 patients? We see nothing in the blood test. We see nothing in the imaging. Okay, the difference between these two patients is probably the way the body is responding to the disease, to the infection. It's a very complex interplay. It's very complex to decipher, but it's there and we should go there. I think that I always like to use the example of the navigation systems in the past. When I was a kid and we were traveling in Europe, we had this green book, the Michelin book of maps, and I remember my mother sitting in the shotgun seat and yelling at my father, "This is not the right exit. You should go there," you know. And we were planning our trips based on those maps. The next stage, we had the navigation, the simple navigation system that we had in the cars, bulky products, and then came Waze, which is a learning system that actually can tell you when you're going to arrive at your destination, which way you should choose. And I think that precision medicine is going exactly that way. Right now we are using the paper maps. The next stage is going to be the navigation system, but then moving forward, I think that the journey of the patient through the cancer is going to be a very personalized one.
Wow. And so if you're looking at, this endeavor and a very, very, very worthwhile mission, what is sort of the greatest challenge? Is it more the technology? Is it more, the whole, the understanding of the whole market, that this is where, the incentives should be, and this is where the personal, endeavors should be? What are the challenges here?
I think that the biggest challenges are the traditional or the conservative perception of disease and medicine that we have in the Western medicine in general. And I'll explain. We are used to look for very specific cause and effects. I have a pneumonia, let's find the bacteria. I have an upper respiratory cold, let's find a virus. Cancer is different. Cancer is not the same disease. Autoimmune diseases are different. You can't always find, one single entity to accuse of the disease. Cancer is complex. It's not always homogenic in nature. So one cancer cell doesn't necessarily resemble the other one. We have in the same tumor different kinds of cancer cells. And I think it's very hard for us, coming from the Western concepts of medicine to perceive that and to accept the fact that this is not, we won't find a silver bullet for cancer. We are not going to find the antibiotic that is going to kill all cancer types. We need to start dig much deeper and reach much higher resolutions. I think this is one big challenge. It is a challenge on the side of the investors. It is a challenge on the side of the pharma companies that are used to this model of let's come with a drug, sell a drug to a disease, make a lot of money, bring good to our patients. And the concept here is very different. If we look at a cancer patient, and clinician will tell you that, when you see your cancer patient before you start treatment, early on treatment, and then 6 months into therapy, this is not the same patient. Things are changing. And I think that this change in perception is one big challenge. And this challenge expresses itself in many different ways. First of all, it's going to be hard to educate the physicians, educate the market that this is what you need to do. Second, investors, we see a lot of investments going, it's always this kind of herd approach. We're going in the same direction. So while in the academy, in academic meetings, you hear people talking today about host response and immune response and the relation between those and cancer response. In the investments that you see out there, people are still investing in NGS, in next generation sequencing, in mutations. So there's always this disconnect, which is for companies like us always a challenge because you need to investors to invest in something that doesn't exist yet. And to find those investors, I can tell you it's a challenge.
So now from more of a leadership perspective, having gone into this journey more from a personal experience, what does it mean to you? What are you learning about yourself as you're running this company and as you're working on something that is obviously so deeply meaningful to you?
It's It's a complex question. I think
Yeah.
that, this is not my first company.
Hmm.
And when I enlisted to the army, and my commander told me before we had, one of those big masaot, I cannot recall
Yeah.
before we had
The big
those, he would
journeys.
tell
Yeah.
me, you will be able to do that. And in the end, you won't believe that you did it, but you will do it. And I think that running a company is very similar. You know, huge challenges all around you, getting the money to fund the company, finding the right people, dealing with the technology, of course, challenge, dealing with regulatory issues, dealing uh, um, with your ongoing or ever-changing go-to-market strategy. We are in a very complex environment. And I think that what I learned about myself, that I'm much more resilient than I thought at the beginning. Uh,
Really.
yeah, I mean, I still lose sleep at night about so many things. Um, but the next day comes and you do what you need to do. And sometimes I tell my team that we have the best job in the world. Until lunch, we solve problems that people are not dealing with during their entire life. And I think that this
Incredible.
is amazing. So the journey is amazing. It is a very hard one. What I learned about myself is that I'm very resilient and I have a very strong driving force. I feel that in a way kind of failed, with my father-in-law, wasn't able to make it, which was of course a big disappointment for my wife, his daughter. And for me, OncoHost is kind of a way
Wow.
to get, a tikkun.
I can only imagine the intrinsic motivation that comes with an experience like this, and the way that then you lead this company, not from a place of simply innovation and simply a financial return in, but with a deep sense of meaning and knowing with this very strong conviction inside why you're doing what you're doing and what is the vision and how you're going to be helping people's lives. If you go back a little bit, previously before this company and even your childhood, what really fascinates you? Is it always in the world of health? Is it always in the world of innovation, or were you involved with things that are different than this?
From even as a kid, from the time I remember, I was into medicine, into biology, into medicine. This was always my preference. Starting with my fish tank in the room when I was a kid, and animals, and then being in the army, going to be a medic, and yeah, I was always into medicine. I was always amazed by the complexity. The immune system is something that was, I remember as a young adult, very young adult, while I was in the army, reading a book about the immune system, a textbook about the immune system, because really fascinated by that. So I was always drawn to this. I think that in recent years, and when I say recent, I'm talking about the last 10 to 15 years, my taste changed, and I was, and today my fascination is the combination between mathematics, machine learning, big data, and medicine, and the potential application of that, and what that might carry for the future.
I love it. And so as you're looking towards, this phase of your career, do you see yourself continuing with this trend of problem solving, whether it's with OncoHost or whether it's with any other company? Sort of have you, did this change, or this experience change the way that you're perceiving now your mission here and what your career you want it to look like?
Um, I live my dream life, really. If
Wow.
I got, an infinite amount of money today, I will still go up and come to the office tomorrow. I can promise you that. I really enjoy what I do.
Amazing.
I think that, moving forward, being an entrepreneur, and you mentioned that you are going to be one soon, is not an easy journey. And I'm almost reaching 50 soon. I'm not sure that I will want to be, another CEO of another company and then another company. Again, the taste in a way might change as well here. And maybe the next step is going to be investments
I
or
love it.
supporting
What are
young startups.
yes? What are a few words that you would use to describe yourself, or if I were to ask anybody around you, how would they describe Ofer Sharon?
Oh my God, I'm not sure I want you to ask this question. You know what? I think that, and I heard it from several people already. I'm this leader type, you know,
Mm-hmm.
people follow me and they say that they follow me, and some of the people I work with actually continue from other companies as well.
Amazing.
Um, not not a very, I wouldn't say friendly, but I tend to be tough. But only when it comes to professionalism. And I think we have no room for mistakes. We have no room for cutting corners in what we do. People are expecting us to bring the best possible science to them, to the patients, and we have a lot of patients
Right.
talking to us. So I think that people will say that Ofer is maybe a tough cookie sometimes, but he's a leader.
I love it. Ofer, thank you so much. And I can, obviously, we're not talking about a traditional startup and another product. We're talking about something that is actually, can be the difference between life and death, or the way that somebody lives their life and the way that they deal with this uncertainty and this most difficult thing that I can imagine. And so I really, first of all, appreciate your work, and I'm inspired by your personal journey and the deep intrinsic motivation that you have to do what you do. I think that's just incredible, and that's what at the end we're all looking for. And so thank you very much for taking the time to share with me this journey, and continue making a positive impact. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Michael. I appreciate the kind
Of
words,
course.
and good luck with your journey.
Thank you.